After much effort, I finally managed to get the devoted second male lead to sit next to me. While moving the desks, the female lead suddenly rushed over and hugged him. "It's so good to see you again. This time, I'll be the one to protect you." The bullet comments are flooding the screen. In her previous life, the female lead chose the wrong scumbag, but fortunately, she was reborn and is now determined to chase her husband relentlessly. It's hilarious. The female lead doesn't even need to chase him. Just a smile at the devoted second male lead is enough to make him willingly bow down to her. In contrast, Victoria is a joke. She only managed to sit next to him after taking a blow for him. Gideon's face was gloomy, yet he allowed Lily to hold him tightly. "Go ahead. What do you want me to do this time? Write a love letter for him, or give up your spot in the competition for him?" The girl shook her head fiercely, crying so pitifully. "I just want to be with you." Gideon froze. After a long while, he turned to me and said, "Let's not move the table for now." Suddenly, I felt it was pointless and summoned the system. See, it was never me who could save him, so, can you let me go home now? When I moved the desk to the back row, Lily was confessing her feelings. She stopped Marcus, who had just returned to the classroom, holding a large bouquet of roses, bright, bold, just like her personality. Before she could speak, Marcus said coldly, "No matter what you do, it's useless." "I don't like you." Lily froze, her face turning pale. A few seconds later, she suddenly looked around as if jolted awake. When she saw the date on the wall clock, her eyes widened abruptly. The next second, she pushed through the crowd and rushed over. She threw herself into Gideon's arms, enveloped in the scent of roses, overwhelmed with the joy of reunion, crying and sobbing. "I'm so glad I can see you again. This time, I won't let you. I'll protect you." Gideon stared at Lily in shock. His hand suspended mid-air, unsure where to place it. Everyone froze in shock. Bullet comments flashed frantically before his eyes. In their past life, Marcus married Lily but then fell for someone else, causing Lily to cry and miscarry, ultimately leading to her dying of sorrow. It's a shame Lily never looked back at the devoted and self-conscious second male lead, Gideon. Back then, he rushed into the fire without hesitation to save her, only to be left disfigured. After being discharged from the hospital, he avoided her but continued to silently watch over her from the shadows. The most heartbreaking part was the day of the car accident. After arguing with Marcus, Lily was emotionally distraught and ran a red light. Gideon rushed over from the other side of the road, pushed her out of the way, and was hit by a truck. Lily broke down crying, begging him not to die. "Just thinking about it breaks my heart." Gideon never once said he liked her, but he gave everything for Lily. Woo-woo. Thankfully, Lily was reborn, and in this life, she's going all out to chase her man, even if it means a fiery pursuit. As for Marcus, just get lost. But Marcus's reaction to Lily's confession shouldn't be like this. Could it be that he was reborn too? The onlooking classmates jeered. "Lily, did you mistake the person? Isn't Marcus the one you were going to confess to?" "Exactly. You just got rejected by Marcus and now you're switching targets." "Doesn't Victoria like Gideon?" TSK, a love quadrangle. A mocking gaze swept over the few of us. Gideon's face darkened. I knew he was heartbroken over Lily being rejected and mocked, and jealous that Marcus could have her bright affection. Lily and Marcus are well matched in social status, and he was just the child of Lily's family's nanny and driver, with his parents having passed away early. The Liu family, taking pity on him, gave him a little money every month. Lily always gave Gideon nothing but condescending orders. She ordered him to give the only umbrella to Marcus on a stormy day and walk back in the rain himself. She ordered him to give the late-night study notes he had compiled to Marcus, and if Marcus refused, she would tear them up in a fit of anger, order him to miss the exam and give the top rank to Marcus. So Gideon didn't take Lily's words seriously, just pursed his lips and asked with self-mockery, "What do you want me to do this time? Write a love letter for him, or give up my spot in the competition for him?" Lily's voice was choked with tears yet exceptionally clear, sincere and resolute. "I want you to be with me. If you don't believe me now, it's okay, we have plenty of time, I'll make you believe me." After saying this, Lily turned and glared at me. "Get away from me." She pushed me aside, grabbed the table I had just moved, and forcefully shoved it to the side. The wooden table scraped against the floor with a harsh sound as she pushed it next to the trash can. Then she ran to move her own desk and merged it with Gideon's. From today on, your desk mate can only be me. She lifted her chin proudly, her eyes sparkling as she looked at him. Gideon stood frozen in place the entire time. He turned his head away in confusion, avoiding her intense gaze, only to meet my eyes. After a long while, Gideon spoke. The table, let's not move it for now. I summoned the system. You see, it was never me who could redeem him, so can you let me go home now? I was living just fine in my original world when suddenly I got bound to a system. It said I was the only one who could redeem the devoted second male lead. Only by helping him avoid the disfigurement and death plot could I return home. Gideon was a cold-natured person, sitting alone in the back row of the classroom, keeping to himself, with his only warmth reserved for the female lead, Lily. He detested my persistent advances and would only coldly tell me to get lost, until last week, when he was cornered, and a steel rod was aimed straight at the back of his head. Without a second thought, I took the blow for him. That was the first time I saw Gideon's expression change. He knelt on the ground, trembling all over, his voice broken. Who told you to meddle? The stick struck his back, but fortunately, with the system's help, the injury wasn't too severe. While Gideon was taking care of me in the hospital, I seized the opportunity to ask to be desk mates. He looked very reluctant, frowning as he agreed, while I had to bleed to earn my seat. Lily only needed to shed a few tears. I continued negotiating with the system. Now that Lily has been reborn, she won't let Gideon get hurt. There's no need for me here at all. The system's cold, mechanical voice replied. I'm sorry for this unexpected situation. You really don't need to stay here any longer. According to the rules, you can choose a point of death to return to your original world. I have been here for nearly 3 years, with teachers and classmates who have been very kind to me, with less than a week left until the college entrance exam. If I were to die suddenly, it might affect them. I don't want this to happen. After the college entrance exam is over. Okay, just now, I was suddenly pushed by Lily and hit the wall. The dull pain from the wound on my back began to spread, and I couldn't help but frown. Suddenly, someone handed me painkillers. Marcus pointed at my back. Your wound has reopened. Do you need to go to the infirmary now? Even people who were completely unrelated could tell something was off. Yet Gideon remained completely unaware. Within just a few minutes, Gideon's desk already had pink stickers and a thermos that didn't belong to him. A pink hair tie was wrapped around his pale, cold wrist, clashing sharply with his gloomy demeanor. Lily had his school uniform draped over her shoulder. In her hand, she held the lunchbox I had made for Gideon. Lily took a bite, spat it out with a yuck, and threw the lunchbox away. Even my dog wouldn't eat something like this. No wonder you're so skinny. From now on, you'll eat with me. Gideon stared blankly at the meal box in the trash can. He didn't say a word. I left the classroom and went to the school clinic to have my bandage redressed. By the time I returned, school was already over, and only Marcus remained in the classroom. My desk was moved next to his. Marcus explained calmly. My previous desk mate was Lily. She moved away. So I moved your desk here, since I'm not trying to win over Gideon. It doesn't matter where I sit, Marcus said. It's already dark. Should I take you home? I didn't want to get involved with the original male lead and was about to refuse. Gideon's cold voice sounded at the door. No need, I'll take her home. Gideon lived in a distant urban village. To complete the mission, I became his neighbor, forced my way into walking with him to and from school, and talked to him non-stop along the way. When he got really annoyed, he would put on earplugs right in front of me. I refused to give up. I talked about everything, from the school's white cat giving birth to 6 kittens, to the sweet and sour pork stall in the cafeteria being too salty, to my dream university, my wish for a teddy bear as a birthday gift, and even how many times I went to the bathroom that day. Every time this happened, Gideon would turn his head to glare at me, his usually cold face tinged with a faint blush. Why are you telling me this? I asked leisurely. Didn't you put in earplugs? Can you still hear me? Gideon lowered his head and walked ahead, trying to put some distance between us. I chased after him and asked loudly, is it really that annoying? Without waiting for his answer, I sighed and muttered to myself, you know what? People only feel like talking when they're happy. I like you, I really like you, being with you makes me happy, so I want to talk. I hope one day you can also say a lot to me. My sparkling eyes made him turn his head away, but he took off his earplugs. However, he still wouldn't wait for me and remained silent. At that time, I thought it was a distant dream for him to wait for me to come home and talk to me non-stop. I didn't expect it to happen today. The summer cicadas chirp in the ears, but it couldn't stop Gideon's incessant chatter. I didn't expect Lily to sit next to me. It's probably just the young lady's whim. She'll move back in a few days. And then I'll sit with you. She's actually not as delicate as she looks. Her hands were red from moving the desks, but she insisted she was fine. She said a lot of strange things today, like she dreamed that I would die saving her in the future. I found it quite amusing. Does she really think I'm that foolish? How peculiar. It was the first time Gideon had spoken so much to me, and it was all because of another girl. He rambled on for a long time, every word, every sentence, all about Lily. Just as we were about to reach the alley entrance, he suddenly stopped and asked me, "Why aren't you speaking today?" I wanted to ask him, "What can I say? What should I say?" The words on the tip of my tongue turned into, "Are you happy now?" Gideon was taken aback. Before he could speak, the sound of a car door opening came from the distance. Lily hopped out of the car and linked arms with Gideon. "From now on, I'll be the one to accompany him home. No need to trouble an outsider like you." Before she could finish, Gideon suddenly interrupted, "She is not an outsider." Everyone was stunned. Gideon also seemed surprised by his own words. He pursed his lips as if regretting it and said to me, "You should go home first." The hot summer wind wrapped around the face, making it stifling. A nervous young voice came from behind. "This is an urban village. It's not safe at night. You should go home." He carefully escorted Lily back to the car, leaving me alone in the darkness. Lily was right. The devoted second male lead is steadfastly in love with the female lead, but the system insists on making me save him, whether it's this relationship or this world. I've always been an outsider. In the morning, I received a message from Gideon. "I took a day off today, so you don't have to wait for me to go to school." When I arrived at the classroom, I noticed that both Gideon and Lily's seats were empty. Marcus noticed my gaze and volunteered to explain, "Today is Lily's birthday. She said Gideon is accompanying her to buy a birthday gift." It turns out that what Gideon meant by having something to do was buying a gift. He is a very studious person. Once, he had a fever of 39 degrees after getting caught in the rain, but he still refused to take a leave and forced himself to attend the class. When I was hospitalized due to an injury, he didn't take a leave either and only came to accompany me after school. Now, this person who values studying above all else would actually, with less than a week left until the college entrance exam, take time off for something as trivial as a gift. But how could Lily's birthday be considered a small matter in Gideon's eyes? Gideon didn't return to school the entire day. I came home alone, and as soon as I entered, I heard a knock at the door. The moment I opened the door, a half-human-sized teddy bear came into view. Its round, plump belly blocked the person behind it. The next second, the teddy bear was gently moved aside. Gideon's face appeared from behind, his nose tip red from the cold. "Happy birthday to you." I froze. It just occurred to me that today is also my birthday. But how did Gideon know? Seeing my confusion, Gideon's eyes curved into a smile. "Did you forget? You told me your birthday is today. You also said you've always wanted a teddy bear because you were afraid of the dark as a child and couldn't sleep at night. So you wanted a big stuffed bear to keep you company. But the orphanage didn't have extra money." I did tell him that on the way home from school, but at that time, he was wearing earplugs, so I thought he couldn't hear me clearly, let alone remember what I said. Gideon extended his right hand. His fingertips were red and swollen with faint scratches. "I saved up the money by washing dishes at the restaurant over the weekend. At first, I was clumsy and broke a few bowls, so some money was deducted. Otherwise, I could have bought you something bigger." I was somewhat surprised. He actually used his study time to work a part-time job, and it was in the dirty and tiring kitchen. Gideon, both nervous and excited, stuffed the soft plush bear into my hands. "Folks, I'm dying of laughter." Is the female lead touched? If she knew that this bear was actually meant for Lily, but the young lady, used to a life of luxury, instinctively disliked it, so Gideon gave it to her instead. What would her reaction be? I took a step back, and the teddy bear fell to the ground, getting covered in dust. "I don't want it." Gideon's hand froze mid-air, his face turning pale. He opened his mouth but ultimately said nothing, only letting out a soft He paused for a moment and asked, "Did anything happen at school today?" Tell me about it, I interrupted him. No, then I closed the door, leaving both the person and the bear outside. The next day was the weekend, and I planned to move all my books back from school. Just as I stepped out into the alley, Lily blocked my way. She looked me up and down. Why are you always bothering Gideon? I've never seen you before. I had no intention of engaging with her and turned to walk away. Lily snapped her fingers. Several people walked in from the alley entrance, carrying sticks in their hands, blocking the way completely. Lily walked up to me, looking down at me from above. Did Gideon give you a bear? That was meant for me, but I was a bit reluctant to accept it, so he gave it to you instead. I looked at her calmly. So, a contemptuous curve lifted the corner of Lily's lips. So you should give the bear back to me. It was the first gift he bought with his own hard-earned money, and it should have been mine all along. An unwanted orphan like you doesn't deserve his feelings. The word orphan hit me like a bucket of ice water, drenching me in cold shock. I only told Gideon about my background. I told him how dark the nights were at the orphanage, and how envious I felt every time I saw other children receiving toys from their parents. I clearly told him not to tell anyone. Lily smiled even more. What's the matter? Did I hit a nerve? I suppose someone like you has never received a gift from anyone, right? I clenched my fists, took a deep breath, and said, "Step aside." Lily didn't back away. Instead, with the air of a victor, she took another step forward, almost pressing against my ear. "I've already messaged Gideon, guess who he'll choose?" Before the words had even finished, hurried footsteps were heard, and Gideon's figure suddenly appeared at the mouth of the alley. Lily immediately screamed and lunged forward. At the same time, the two boys raised the iron rods in their hands. One came whistling toward my back, while the other was aimed directly at Lily's face. Time seemed to freeze at that moment. Gideon's pupils suddenly contracted as he lunged toward Lily. A tearing, intense pain shot through my back, and cold sweat instantly soaked my school uniform. Gideon bent down to check on Lily, his voice filled with an urgency I had never heard before. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" Lily shook her head pitifully in his arms, but her eyes glanced over his shoulder at me, a triumphant smile curling at the corner of her lips. I stared at Gideon's back and suddenly remembered what he had said in the hospital after I took a blow for him. "Don't ever rush in front of me again. I should be the one protecting you, so this protection has a priority." The person he wanted to protect has always been Lily. My vision began to blur. Darkness surged like a tide, completely swallowing me. Before losing consciousness, I saw Gideon's shocked and panicked expression. As if he wanted to run toward me, I summoned the system. "Help me leave this world." I struggled to open my eyes. The white ceiling slowly comes into focus in my vision. Awake, a nurse walks in carrying a tray and jokes with a smile. "Your little boyfriend can finally breathe a sigh of relief. He stayed by your side all night and was just persuaded to go out and buy some porridge. Why am I still in the book?" The system's mechanical voice echoed in my mind. "Once a death node is established, it cannot be changed. Please wait patiently, host." I froze. But Lily has been reborn. What if she avoids that fire in advance? In the original plot, after the college entrance exam, the whole class had a gathering, and the restaurant accidentally caught fire. At that time, Lily and Marcus had just had a fight, and she ran to the stairwell to cry. No one informed her, and by the time she came out, she realized the place was on fire. Gideon escaped outside, but when he realized Lily was still inside, he rushed back in and successfully rescued her. But the beam burned through and fell, hitting Gideon directly, causing moderate burns and nearly destroying his entire face. If Lily had contacted the fire department for an inspection earlier in this life, the fire could have been avoided. "Then how will I go back then?" System reply. "Then you'll just have to stay in the book forever." At that moment, the hospital room door was gently pushed open. Gideon walked in carrying a thermal lunchbox, with heavy dark circles under his eyes and bloodshot eyes. He rushed to the bedside, his knee hitting the edge of the bed, causing it to shake. He didn't bother to rub it, reaching out to touch my back, but his hand dropped halfway, his expression filled with guilt. "I'm sorry." He opened the lunchbox. "The nurse said you just woke up and can only have something light." The white porridge was cooked to a thick consistency, topped with finely shredded dried meat floss and greens. He scooped a spoonful of porridge, blew on it repeatedly, and brought it to my lips. I cooked it a little longer. I turned my head to dodge, saying coldly, "Those people were brought by Lily." it's all her scheme. She just wants to force you to choose her, to ruin me." Gideon's movements abruptly halted. He lowered his gaze, his long eyelashes casting shadows under his eyes. Remaining silent without refuting, my heart sank. "You already know, don't you? I'm going to call the police." The spoon in Gideon's hand clattered into the lunchbox, his expression flustered. "Do not call the police. She still has to take the college entrance exam. If we report this to the police, it might affect her test results." A chill ran through my entire body, so cold it pierced to the bone. Affect her college entrance exam. I suddenly burst into laughter, the pain in my back making my laughter tremble. What about me? I've been injured on my back for the second time, and I definitely won't be able to take this year's college entrance exam. You're worried about how it might affect her, but what about me? If I hadn't traveled into this book, if I were just an ordinary orphan who had given my all to change my fate through the college entrance exam, how utterly hopeless would I feel right now? Gideon's lips trembled, but no words came out. His eyes red as if about to bleed. He suddenly dropped to his knees beside the bed. "It was my fault. I was wrong. Please don't call the police. I beg you. I will take responsibility for you." He lifted his head, his bloodshot eyes filled with stubbornness. "If you can't take the college entrance exam, I'll repeat the year with you, next year. Let's get into the same university and choose the same major. After we graduate, I'll marry you, okay?" I picked up the phone from the bedside table, entered the number, and just as I was about to press the call button, the system suddenly warned me in my mind, "Host, you are just a transmigrator. You cannot call the police and affect the female lead's fate." I'm not willing to give up. What if I insist on calling the police? System. The female lead's fate affects the operation of the world in the book. If you insist on calling the police, I will erase all related evidence and refuse to send you back to your original world. Please consider this carefully, host. I clench my phone tightly, closing my eyes, my voice cold as ice. "Gideon, get lost." For the next few days, Gideon did not leave. He didn't go to school, working at a construction site during the day and taking on part-time jobs as a hospital orderly and errand runner at night. He slept in the hospital stairwell every night, hiding in the restroom when security made rounds, and used the money he earned to pay for the hospital bills. He began to talk incessantly, from daily meals and hospital gossip to his planned repeat study program. The cafeteria lady said millet porridge is good for the stomach, so I asked her to add a few extra red dates. "Try it and see if it's sweet enough. If you don't like it, I'll switch to pumpkin porridge tomorrow." Today, the old man from the third-floor ward sneaked out again to buy cigarettes and got caught by the nurses. He hung his head like a schoolboy admitting his mistake, which made all of us laugh. I looked into nearby cram schools, and one seems quite suitable. I can save up the tuition fees this summer, and then we can go there together and continue being desk mates. It was as if the two of them had swapped places. I put on my earplugs and remained silent, not saying a word. When I got too annoyed, I coldly told him to get lost, but he just wouldn't leave. Until the day before the college entrance exam, Lily appeared at the door of the hospital room. Gideon was peeling an apple for me. The fruit knife made a steady circular cut, and the apple peel came off in one continuous strip. "Where is your exam location? I'll have the family book a hotel for you and arrange for someone to take you there." Gideon didn't even look up. "Not necessary." Lily stamped her foot. "How can we not use it? The college entrance exam is so important. Living closer will let you rest better, and I'm still waiting for you to go to the same university as me." Gideon finally stopped what he was doing, cut the peeled apple into small pieces, placed them on a plate, and pushed it in front of me. Only then did he look up at Lily, his eyes devoid of any warmth. "I don't plan to take the college entrance exam." Lily froze. "What do you mean?" Gideon looked at her calmly. "Lily, I am the child of your family's driver and nanny. I used to listen to you because the Liu family took care of me after my parents passed away, but I now earn my own money and no longer need the living expenses provided by the Liu family." Lily stared at him in disbelief. "What are you saying? You clearly like me." Gideon shook his head. "Never. The person I like is Victoria." Lily's face turned pale. How could this be? She grabbed Gideon's arm. "Did you remember something?" Gideon frowned and pulled his hand away from hers. "I don't know what you're talking about. The college entrance exam is my own business and has nothing to do with you." Lily turned her head sharply and glared at me with resentment. "This is different from the last life. There was no you in the last life. Did you have an influence? Gideon stood up and blocked my way, his tone cold. Leave, don't disturb the patient's rest. I silently mouthed to Lily, it's me. After the college entrance exam ended, Lily organized a group dinner. She strongly urged everyone to attend, specifically tagging me and Gideon, saying it wouldn't be complete without either of us. Gideon frowned at his phone screen. Don't go, the wound on your back hasn't healed yet. The gathering will be crowded and noisy. What if someone bumps into your injury? I stared at the name of the restaurant on the screen, my heart tightening abruptly. It was the same restaurant that had caught fire in my past life, and the timing was identical. This is my only chance to return to the original world. I shook my head, my tone resolute. No, I must go. But your injuries, it's okay, I'll be careful, I'll just move around less when the time comes. Gideon finally let out a resigned sigh. All right, then I'll pay more attention. If you feel unwell, let me know immediately. On the day of the gathering, Lily hasn't arrived yet. Gideon checks on me from time to time, asking if I want water and serving me food. I barely ate anything, silently counting down the time. He noticed my absent-mindedness and looked at me with concern. Is the wound hurting? Should we go back now? I haven't spoken yet. Gideon's phone rings. The word Lily is clearly displayed on the screen. He hesitated for a moment before answering the phone, and Lily's tearful voice immediately came through the receiver. I was in a car accident. At the intersection of Happiness Avenue. It hurts so much, I'm bleeding a lot, I can't move, please come quickly. The call was abruptly cut off, leaving only the urgent dial tone. Gideon's face instantly turned pale. He suddenly stood up, the chair scraping the floor with a piercing noise. The class monitor beside him was startled. What's wrong? Gideon spoke rapidly, with unconcealed panic. Lily just called me. She said she was in a car accident. It's serious. At the intersection of Happiness Avenue, the classmates nearby were all startled. A male student stood up and volunteered. I'll go check it out. My home happens to be nearby. Another classmate chimed in. I'll go too. More people mean more support. Gideon, who had already reached the door, abruptly stopped in his tracks. Then I'll leave it to you. He returned to the seat beside me and forced a smile. You're still injured. I'll stay here with you. His fingers tapped the table unconsciously and nervously, in a rapid rhythm. His gaze was fixed intently on the screen. The screen remained dark, with no new messages or incoming calls. He grew increasingly restless, his lips pressed tightly together. Watching him fidget uneasily, I spoke softly. You can go, no need to stay with me. There are so many classmates here, nothing will happen. Gideon froze. But your injuries, I lowered my gaze, hiding the mockery in my eyes. Go ahead if you want to. Marcus, standing nearby, spoke calmly. You go, I'll take care of her here. Gritting his teeth, Gideon finally stood up. I'll be back soon. If you feel unwell, just message me. After saying that, he turned and dashed toward the door of the private room. Not long after, my phone vibrated. It was a text message from an unfamiliar number. Hello, someone asked me to pass something to you. I'll be waiting for you in the stairwell on the left. I took a deep breath and clicked to edit the message. The recipient was the fire station. The content clearly indicated the restaurant's address and the fire hazard. Set the send time for 10 minutes later. After doing all this, I got up with my phone, ready to head to the stairwell. Marcus asked, where are you going? Let's head home. Marcus curved the corner of his mouth. Goodbye. The fire engulfed the restaurant as expected. Fire. Run for your lives. Help, don't take the elevator. The chaotic sounds of footsteps, cries, and the loud crashes of overturned tables and chairs all blended together. Thick smoke quickly filled the cramped space, making it hard to breathe. I summoned the system. I want to go home. The system replied, okay, the teleportation channel has been opened for you. Countdown, 1 minute, due to personal injury sustained in the book. You have been approved for a work-related injury compensation of 3 million yuan, which will be deposited into your original world bank account. I let out a light sigh and began to ponder how to spend this money. Just then, my phone vibrated frantically in my pocket. It was Gideon. I'm on my way to the restaurant. Lily wasn't in a car accident at all. She said it was just a prank. Lily's voice rang out. Gideon, I order you not to go back. Gideon said coldly, move aside, wait for me. I'm running back now, I'll be there soon. I didn't speak. The receiver carried his hurried and chaotic gasps, with the background noise of howling wind and the blaring of car horns. There were also the sounds of alarms and the collapsing of beams as the fire raged. On your side, Gideon paused. What's that sound? Why is it so noisy? An alarm. Who's shouting for help? What's happening? His voice suddenly rose, filled with unprecedented fear and panic, almost cracking. Where are you? Tell me. Are you still in the restaurant? What's going on there? Speak. Are you safe? Answer me. I held the phone, listening to the anxious, belated, and futile voice from the other end, a voice that belonged to another world. It felt nothing but mocking. The system's prompt sounded, countdown, 10 seconds, 10, 9, Gideon, didn't you always find me annoying before? The other end of the phone fell into dead silence, leaving only heavy, panicked breaths. I slightly curved the corners of my lips. As if through the thick smoke, one could see his expression of sudden shock, his blood running cold. Congratulations. My voice grew fainter, like a feather about to vanish in the wind. You are finally free. What do you mean, you? Countdown ended. Traditional passage has been activated. A warm, glowing white circle appeared before my eyes. I promptly hung up the phone and embarked on my journey home, after returning to the original world. Looking at the cold string of numbers in my banking app, I resigned without hesitation. At the end of a quiet street lined with plane trees, I opened a bookstore with a small courtyard. The interior decoration of the shop was designed by me personally. The large floor-to-ceiling windows allow sunlight to stream in freely, filling the air with the aroma of coffee. The days pass by uneventfully. 30% of the monthly profits are donated to the orphanage where I spent my childhood. I also volunteer at the orphanage for one day each month. That day, I went to the orphanage as usual and was just about to chat with the old director. Suddenly, the system's voice echoed in my mind. Host, the original storyline of the book has completely collapsed, and the world is about to be destroyed. Can you come back and save it? I froze. What happened to the world in the book? Did Lily and Gideon not end up together? The system's typically indifferent mechanical voice became frantic. The timeline in the book progresses faster than the world you're in. Just 7 years have passed in the book, and the male lead, Marcus, is gone. The devoted second male lead, Gideon, has completely turned dark, bankrupted the female lead Lily's family, sent her entire family to prison, and is now attempting suicide. The system showed me the footage from that time. Gideon, like a crazed beast, his eyes bloodshot, charged recklessly into the fire, but Marcus firmly blocked him. Marcus delivered a sharp kick to Gideon's knee. With a dull crack, Gideon's knee gave way, and he fell heavily to the ground. He tried to push himself up with his hands, but the leg that had been kicked couldn't support him. After taking 2 steps, he fell again. The smoke made him cough violently, so he clawed at the ground and crawled forward, his fingernails torn off, leaving several glaring bloodstains on the ground. After crawling more than 10 meters, Marcus dragged him back again. The fire truck arrived in time and controlled the blaze. I was the only one who died, which was much better than the original plot. Gideon locked himself in the room, refusing to eat or drink. Marcus dragged him out of the house and told him the truth. Actually, this world is a book, and his fate in it is miserable. He also said I didn't die. I just returned to the original world. Only by destroying the world in the book is there a chance to see me again, and then Gideon believed it. Completely turning to the dark side, after taking revenge on Lily's family, Gideon returned to the urban village, to the house I used to live in. He quietly leaned on the sofa, like a ghost, holding the teddy bear I had refused to accept back then. The right wrist bears a startlingly deep wound. Gideon's eyes are half open, gazing into the void as if waiting for something. The system said anxiously, Host, if you return to the original world now, Gideon can still be saved. I refuse. Why should I give up my wonderful life now and sacrifice my entire existence to save someone who has hurt me? Back then, I opened my eyes and found myself transmigrated into the book, with no choice in the matter. Now, the system is rambling on, probably because it can't just drag me into the book like it did before. Then I have a choice, I said firmly, word by word. I can't go back anymore. Get lost, Victoria. What's wrong with you? The old dean's worried voice came through. You've been spacing out since just now, not responding no matter how I call you. I snapped back to attention. The system was still talking in my mind at first, but then it went silent. The sound of a car engine came from the door. I instinctively looked up, but upon seeing who it was, I froze on the spot, and the book in my hand fell to the ground. It was Marcus, the original male lead in the book. No, not quite the same. In the book, Marcus is 18, with a youthful and tender face. The man before me stands tall and straight like a pine tree, exuding a calm and composed aura. Having shed that youthful innocence, he picked up the book that had fallen on the ground and smiled. I told you we'd meet again, Victoria. Don't you remember me? You're the male lead in the book. Marcus smiled, and in this world, no impression at all. He seemed to catch the confusion in my eyes and sighed softly. As expected, I'm 2 years younger than you, and I'm also from this orphanage. When I first came in, I was thin and small. There were a few older, bigger kids who always liked to steal my food. Now that he mentioned it, I do have a bit of an impression. A few boys, taking advantage of their age, liked to bully the younger kids who had just arrived at the institution, stealing their food and pushing all the chores onto them. I remember it clearly. It was Mid-Autumn Festival. When we were getting our meals, everyone got an extra mooncake. But once again, I was surrounded by that group. You saw it and immediately jumped up, slamming the tray onto the other person's head. I froze. It seems like that really happened. The lead guy was stunned at the time. I thought he was going to fight me, but he just walked away and avoided me ever since. I never expected that timid, tearful child back then was actually Marcus. Marcus paused for a moment. Not long after that, I was adopted. I didn't have a chance to thank you properly before I left. I interrupted him. I remember now. So why are you in the book too? Marcus stared at me. Because I couldn't find you. Everyone says I'm crazy, that I've imagined a person. Until someone who called themselves a system found me and asked if I was willing to play the male lead in a book. They said you were in that book too, so I agreed. When I opened my eyes, Lily was confessing her feelings to the male lead with flowers in hand. I froze, never expecting this to be the reason. So what is your task? Marcus said. To play the male lead and follow the related plot step by step. I was puzzled. That book goes up to the age of 30, doesn't it? Why would the system let you come back? Marcus said softly. You're back, so there's no need for me to stay there anymore. I was a bit distraught. You wanted to come back, and the system just let you. Marcus paused, then nodded. Of course not. The system insisted that the plot must be completed before the teleportation channel could be opened, so he committed suicide, and the system brought him back to life. Then he attempted suicide again, dying repeatedly. The system had to expend energy to save him, and maintaining the world also required energy. Unable to endure his repeated actions, the system had no choice but to send him back. But there's no need to tell Victoria about these things. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My officer husband Charles, in order to defend his comrade's pregnant widow Luna, slapped me hard in front of everyone. I awakened memories of my past life. I realized that my husband Charles and Luna were conspiring to swap the child in my womb. Knowing what would happen next, I quietly went to the hospital and aborted my 3-month-old fetus, continuing to feign pregnancy. Charles and Luna had no idea that the child in my womb was already gone. They continued, just as in the previous life, waiting for me to give birth so they could frame and slander me. 6 months later, Charles and Luna, who barged into my delivery room with a child as black as coal intending to swap with mine, were both dumbfounded. In the autumn of 1977, when I was 3 months pregnant, my husband Charles returned from a mission and brought home a woman who was also heavily pregnant. Charles briefly explained to me that the woman he brought back was named Luna. Luna was the widow of his comrade in arms. Like me, she was already more than 3 months pregnant. He had promised his deceased comrade to take care of Luna and the child in her womb. Knowing that Luna had lost her husband and was alone while heavily pregnant, I felt great sympathy for her situation and readily agreed to let her stay with us. Charles mentioned that Luna was a college student from the city and had never done any heavy or rough work, so I took care of all the housework at home. Luna, being pregnant, didn't have to do anything. She just ate, drank, slept, and enjoyed herself. Meanwhile, even though I was also pregnant, I still had to go to work at the office, and on top of that, I had to do Luna's laundry, cook for her, and wait on her. Not only did Luna not do any work, but she was also very picky about food. clothing, and other daily necessities. In this era of material scarcity, aside from eating refined rice and white flour every day, he wants to eat meat and eggs every other day, and he's constantly snacking. Because Charles gave all his salary and allowances to Luna, but it still wasn't enough for her extravagance. Unable to cope with Luna's lavish spending, Charles actually set his sights on me. He asked me to take out the money I had painstakingly saved for raising a child and give it to Luna to use. I'm not feeling very happy. I consider myself not a petty person. I've always felt sympathy for Luna since I heard her husband passed away, and I've been taking good care of her since she arrived. It's often said to put yourself in others' shoes. I thought everyone has a heart of flesh and blood. Charles and I are not wealthy, we live a tight life. If Luna had any conscience, she would understand the difficulties Charles and I face. Unexpectedly, she did not. She spent Charles's salary without any burden, ordering me around and acting imperiously, even though I was also pregnant. I don't know if it's because pregnant people are more sensitive. But I always felt that Luna treated me like a servant or a nanny. Feeling uneasy, I privately and tactfully brought it up with Charles. Charles was very displeased and scolded me, saying I was overthinking and that I couldn't handle things properly. He warned me to have the tolerance to endure it. Charles not standing by my side as his wife but always speaking up for Luna makes me feel very uncomfortable. I don't know if I'm being too sensitive, but I always feel that Charles treats Luna a bit differently. I couldn't quite pinpoint exactly what was different until that night when I got up in the middle of the night and saw Charles and Luna hugging each other. After I discovered it, Charles and Luna quickly separated. Charles explained that Luna was grieving over her deceased husband in the middle of the night. He was just comforting Luna as a friend. I remember very clearly that when I saw them hugging, I didn't see any expression of sadness or distress on Luna's face. Although I didn't quite believe Charles's explanation, I still chose to trust him, until one day, Aunt Susan from the same compound reminded me, "Linda, I know you're a good person, but don't let your kindness be misplaced. Don't end up helping someone count the money after they've sold you out. Keep a close eye on your husband, and don't let some shameless vixen lure him away." Aunt Susan's words were ambiguous, but I took them to heart. After thinking it over, I couldn't help but feel that the vixen Aunt Susan was referring to was Luna. After all, Luna always calls Charles for everything, acting even more justified than I, his wife. I grew increasingly uneasy, so I started observing Charles and Luna closely. The more I observed, the more something felt off. Charles spends several times more time with Luna than I, his wife, do. Whenever Luna needs him, Charles is always there at a moment's notice. Charles will go to great lengths to fulfill whatever Luna wants, but he has never shown any initiative to care for me. Whenever I need him, he is always with Luna. Charles has made me endure countless grievances for Luna's sake, and he acts as if it's only natural, without a hint of remorse. I may be slow to react, but I'm not foolish. After noticing that many things were not right, I took the initiative to ask Charles to have Luna move out. Charles refused and had a big argument with me. Charles completely disregarded me as his wife. After the argument, he went straight to the neighbor's house to accompany Luna without coming home for the night, and even secretly took the salary I had just received to buy snacks and snowflake cream for Luna. When I found out, I was so angry that I lost my temper. In a fit of rage, I made the matter public in front of all the neighbors in the courtyard. Humiliated, Charles was filled with rage and slapped me, who was more than 3 months pregnant, across the face. I was slapped to the ground by Charles, blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. As the metallic taste of blood filled my mouth, a memory suddenly flooded my mind. It was a life I had once lived, with the exact same trajectory. When I was 3 months pregnant, Charles brought home Luna, who was also pregnant, and then devoted all his efforts to her, neglecting me, his wife. Then I noticed their unusual commotion, and Charles publicly scolded them and slapped one of them. In my previous life, after being slapped, I swallowed my anger and continued to watch Charles help Luna, continuing to work tirelessly for them. This life of enduring humiliation lasted until I gave birth. Luna and I gave birth on the same day. She had a healthy and adorable boy, and yet, I gave birth to a pitch-black baby. Charles was furious, accusing me of improper conduct and having an affair with an African man behind his back. I was at a loss for words, and no amount of explanation made any difference. Unable to accept my betrayal, Charles went straight to our supervisor and divorced me. Abandoned by Charles, I became a disgraced woman, mocked and scorned by everyone. I was fired from my job and, holding my dark-skinned child, was driven back to the countryside. Everyone mocked and humiliated me. There was no place that would take me in. Later, Charles, out of consideration for our years as a couple, offered me a way to survive. His mother had fallen from the mountain while gathering firewood and was left paralyzed. Charles asked me to take care of her. With nowhere to go, I accepted Charles's kindness and dutifully cared for his mother in the countryside, tending to all her needs for 30 long years. I endured hardship and suffering in the countryside, while Charles rose steadily through the ranks and became a high-ranking official. He married Luna and lived a prosperous life with her and her child. 30 years passed in the blink of an eye. After Charles's mother passed away, I too was left in the countryside, worn down by illness and suffering, barely clinging to life. At the moment of my death, Charles and Luna returned with the child, revealing the truth to me as I lay dying. Luna was Charles's beloved, and the dark-skinned child was born to her. To protect Luna from criticism, Charles schemed to swap my child with theirs. The truth came to light, and I died with deep resentment, while Charles, Luna, and my child lived happily together as a family of 3. The experiences of my past life flashed before my eyes like a revolving lantern. I fell to the ground, the taste of blood filling my mouth. Less than a meter away from me, Charles was looking at me with disgust in his eyes. Luna clutched her stomach, pitifully complaining of pain from the fetal distress. Yet her eyes held an unmistakable malicious smile. Charles abandoned me and took Luna to the hospital. While the onlookers scattered like birds and beasts, I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth and stood up. Since heaven has given me a second chance at life, I will settle all scores and grudges. I won't keep the child. I want to see how Charles and Luna plan to scheme against me without this baby in my womb. I went to the hospital that very day to terminate the pregnancy. While I was lying on the operating table, Charles was busy attending to Luna, who was feigning a stomachache in a nearby ward. He doesn't know I've already gotten rid of the baby. He doesn't care what happens to me. His mind is completely focused on Luna. It was precisely Charles's neglect of me that allowed me to rest undisturbed for a few days after getting rid of the baby. Charles only returned with Luna on the 5th day after I had the abortion. Luna, delicate and pitiful, was supported by Charles as they entered my home. Seeing me lying in bed without any reaction, Charles stormed in angrily and started yelling at me. "Linda, what are you doing lying in bed? Hurry up and prepare a bowl of sugar water with eggs for Luna to replenish her blood." I lay in bed without moving, just staring coldly at Charles. Seeing that I didn't move, Charles repeated his words with displeasure. "Over there." Luna, clutching her stomach, spoke in a delicate, coquettish tone. "Sister-in-law, are you angry? It's all my fault. My health is so poor. Brother Charles is worried about the baby in my belly, so he insisted I stay in the hospital a few more days. I told him to come back and keep you company, but he just wouldn't listen to me. Sister-in-law, please don't be angry with Brother Charles because of me. It might harm the baby in your belly. Don't say Luna's level is quite high." Every word sounds pitiful, but each word she says is provoking me. In my previous life, I was infuriated by her to the extreme, but in this life, I won't get angry anymore. I calmly extended my hand to Charles. "If you want sweet egg soup, give me the money, I'll go buy eggs and brown sugar." Charles was taken aback, then grew furious. "Are you deliberately asking me for money? You know perfectly well I've spent all my money on Luna's medical bills. You have no money, so what gives you the right to order me around? Am I your nanny?" I sneered. "Let me tell you, Charles, if you want to support someone else's wife and child, figure it out yourself. Don't count on me. From now on, if you dare touch even a penny of my money, don't blame me for being rude." "What do you mean? Say that again." Charles angrily tried to come over and teach me a lesson. I sat up abruptly. "Say it again." "I will, Charles. You keep saying that Luna's husband is dead and she's pregnant, so she needs you to take care of her. I can't help but wonder, if Luna's husband is dead, does that mean all her relatives are dead too? Does she really need to turn to you, a comrade in arms she barely knows?" My words made Charles and Luna look uncomfortable. They had a guilty conscience and couldn't respond to me openly. Luna wiped her eyes, squeezing out a few tears. "Sister-in-law, If you're unhappy with me and think I'm causing trouble, then I'll just leave." Seeing Luna turn to leave, Charles immediately chased after her. I leaned against the head of the bed, sneering repeatedly, feeling guilty. It's good to feel guilty. There will be more days ahead to keep them on edge. I've thought it through clearly during these days of rest after the surgery. Since Charles and Luna have been ruthlessly scheming against me from the very beginning, I won't let them off easily either. I won't reveal the slightest hint to Charles and Luna about the fact that the child is already gone. They plan to humiliate me at the cost of my entire life, but I'm not someone to be trifled with. If they continue to scheme against me as they did in my past life, I will make sure they taste the consequences of their harmful actions. I will keep pretending to be pregnant, waiting for the day when their true colors are exposed. Since I know both Charles and Luna are no good, I will never repeat the mistakes of my past life by working tirelessly for them like a beast of burden. Charles can forget about touching a single cent of my salary and allowances. Not only that, but Luna must also pay back every penny she has spent or used of my money. I gathered all the cash in the house and hid it in a place only I know. I used food stamps to exchange for meat, eggs, and brown sugar to nourish myself every day. And I also used cloth coupons to get myself several sets of clothes and a few pairs of shoes. Securing my belongings to prevent these two despicable individuals from taking advantage is the first step. The second step is to figure out a way to uncover the truth about Luna's situation. Just now, I deliberately tested Charles and Luna, and these two despicable individuals were very guilty. I have a strong intuition that there is a big secret behind Luna, and I need to figure it out. Charles chased after Luna and didn't return until the evening. By the time he came back, I had already finished dinner. Charles entered the house and went straight to the kitchen, fully expecting to find food waiting for him. Instead, he found the stove cold and the pots empty. With a dark expression, he pushed open the bedroom door. "Linda, what's wrong with you? There's a limit to throwing a tantrum. Are you refusing to cook just to challenge me? Let me tell you. You'd better not push me too far." "What will you do if I push you too far?" I leaned quietly against the headboard, watching the enraged Charles. Seeing my indifferent attitude, he became even angrier. "If you push me too far, I'll divorce you, just like in my previous life." Charles threatened me with divorce when he saw that I wasn't willing to be a servant for him and Luna. In my previous life, Linda was afraid that Charles would abandon me and feared the shame of being divorced. Having died once, Linda no longer had these worries. I sneered. "Fine, let's get a divorce." Seeing that I didn't cry or make a scene and agreed to the divorce so readily, Charles was dumbfounded. "Linda, do you know what you're saying? Do you have any idea what will happen if you divorce me?" Charles doesn't believe I would be willing to divorce him. After all, I've always been obedient and submissive to him. In this day and age, divorce is a major offense. Gossip alone could drown you. Of course I know what I'm saying, Charles. Divorce is no problem. But I have conditions. Hearing that I had conditions, Charles immediately breathed a sigh of relief. He thought I was playing hard to get and negotiating with him. "I won't accept your conditions, Linda. Now you only have one option. Obediently take care of Luna and her child as you did before, and I'll consider not divorcing you. Otherwise, I'll file the papers tomorrow." I looked at the self-righteous Charles and laughed. "Charles, I will never help you take care of Luna again. Don't get the wrong idea. Listen to me carefully. I have only one condition for the divorce. You must return all the money you took from me, the money that belongs to me." Charles never expected that my demand would be to return the money. He was so angry that he flew into a rage. "I don't have the money. It's already been spent. I don't care about that. You must return my money, or I'll go to the authorities." Hearing that I wanted to see the leader, Charles was visibly taken aback. "Why do you want to see the leader?" "I want to ask the leader why they've been ignoring a pregnant martyr's family member." I stared at Charles, enunciating each word clearly. "Isn't Luna the widow of a martyr? Shouldn't martyrs' family members receive subsidies? If she's receiving subsidies, why would she need an outsider like you to take care of her?" This is clearly the result of the leader's inaction. "I'm going to ask on Comrade Zoe's behalf why no one is looking after her, a pregnant martyr's family member." As I finished speaking, an uneasy expression flashed across Charles's face. He has grown accustomed to my tolerance, convinced that he can scowl at me, order me around, and threaten me with divorce, and I will obediently comply. But he never expected that I would actually make a scene and threaten to go to the leadership. Charles clearly felt guilty and softened his tone, reaching out to hold my hand and coax me. Linda, what are you making such a fuss about? You're about to be a mother. This kind of behavior isn't good for the child. I admit I lost my temper just now, but it was only because you provoked me. I apologize, so please stop making a scene. Let's just live our lives peacefully. I pushed his hand away and took out a paper with the amount written on it. This is the money you took from me. I'm only giving you 3 days. After 3 days, I want to see all my money, or I'll go to the leadership and get to the bottom of this. I mean what I say. Seeing my resolute attitude with no room for compromise, Charles had no choice and stormed out, slamming the door behind him once again. I knew he was going to seek Luna for a solution. The sight of Charles fleeing in such a flustered manner made me frown deeply. I had only said it casually to threaten Charles, never expecting that he would actually compromise and admit his mistake. So, is there something more to Luna's claim of being a martyr's family member? This matter needs to be thoroughly investigated. These two shameless scoundrels didn't expect that I am someone who has already died once. Without me, the hard-working and exploited fool. I'd like to see how they can live happily ever after. I want to see how Luna intends to live a good life as if it were her past life. I want to keep them living in constant fear, making sure they can't eat or sleep well, always anxious and afraid. Charles returned 3 days later. Although he hadn't been back during those 3 days, I was fully aware of his situation the entire time. Charles, guilty and fearful, found a new place for Luna to live outside and was also borrowing money everywhere. Aunt Susan, who is close to me, also went to borrow money, and she specifically stopped me to give me a heads up. I thanked Aunt Susan and went to the hospital to ask the doctor about Luna's condition. I've always found it strange that Luna is carrying a black child in her belly. How dare she not get rid of it and even have the audacity to give birth to it just to scheme against me? Isn't she afraid that something might go wrong and she'll end up getting burned? When I got home from the hospital, Charles had also returned. Over the past few days, he had been borrowing money from everywhere and finally managed to gather the amount I asked for. Out of guilt, he handed me the money with a rare smile on his face. I've paid you back all the money. I've also found a new place for Luna and will try to interfere with her less from now on. Let's live our lives well together. I took the money, carefully counted it, and then put it away. Charles, I'm pregnant and not in good health. So I've resigned from my job to focus on resting. From now on, you must hand over all your salary and allowances to me. Charles's expression changed. Why would you quit your job when everything is fine? Didn't I tell you? My health isn't good. The doctor advised me to rest and avoid a miscarriage. Charles didn't want me to quit my job, nor did he want to give me my salary, but he had no other choice now. He was afraid I would make a scene and expose the matter with Luna to the higher-ups. And he was even more afraid that something might really happen to the child in my womb. After all, he and Luna are still waiting to scheme against me. Since then, I have been eating well, drinking well, reading, and studying at home to prepare for the upcoming college entrance exam, living a leisurely and carefree life. However, Charles and Luna are not having such an easy time. Charles no longer dares to openly give all his salary and allowances to Luna. He can only secretly give her a portion, telling me that he gave it to his mother. No longer able to spend Charles's money as freely as before, Luna's life became financially strained. She no longer indulged in lavish meals and drinks every few days, nor did she have the money to buy clothes or face cream to dress herself up. Struggling to make ends meet, Luna began wearing patched clothes. Due to poor nutrition, she no longer had the rosy lips, fair skin, and plump figure of her past life. Instead, her face turned sallow and became covered in freckles. Meanwhile, I ate well, drank well, slept well, and was radiant with good health. While studying, I never forget to take the time to annoy Luna. Every few days, I go to ask her whether the martyr's family subsidy has been paid and how much it is per month. Faced with my questions, Luna found it hard to answer and later started avoiding me whenever she saw me. Days passed like this, and Luna's belly grew bigger and bigger, to deceive Charles. My belly also swelled up as if it were being inflated. Charles didn't show much concern for me or the child in my womb. His mind was entirely focused on Luna. Because of his indifference, I was able to disguise my pregnancy until the delivery, and Charles never suspected a thing. Soon, it was time for the birth. Just like in the previous life, Luna went into labor, just as she had in her past life. Charles had called his mother in advance. He asked her to stay with Luna while he hurried back home to find me. Seeing that I was fine and there was no movement, he soon went out again and came back not long after. This time, he brought me a full enamel mug of pork rib soup. Charles handed the soup to me and insisted that I eat it. I knew exactly what was going on. I'm just afraid the soup might not be clean, but since I have nothing in my stomach, there's nothing to worry about. So, under Charles's watchful gaze, I finished all the ribs and the soup. Seeing that I had finished all the rib soup, Charles felt relieved. He didn't leave and kept staring at me. I sneered inwardly, supporting my disguised big belly as I turned and went back to the bedroom. I lay in bed with my eyes closed, pretending to be asleep, and heard Charles pacing back and forth outside. He was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, not daring to leave, just waiting for me to make a move. I chuckled to myself. And after lying in bed for over half an hour, I pretended to complain of a stomachache. Hearing my cry of pain, Charles immediately came in. I'll take you to the hospital, let's go right now. I held my stomach, crying out in pain, and was helped into the car by Charles. The car sped straight to the hospital. Charles had already made all the arrangements, and my ward was right next to Luna's. Luna had been in pain for a long time, letting out pig slaughter-like screams in the next ward. After I entered my room and lay down on the bed, I also cried out from time to time, following Luna's lead. Giving birth is no joke. Luna screamed like a pig being slaughtered until midnight, and finally, her water broke, and she was taken to the delivery room. Charles stayed by the hospital bed the entire time, and seeing Luna's miserable state, his heart ached to the extreme. He had his mother keep an eye on me, while he himself followed the doctor to accompany Luna to the delivery room. Watching Charles leave, I immediately sat up and waved to his mother. Mom, I just remembered something very important. I think I might have dropped some money when I came out to change clothes earlier. I'm not sure if it was at home or on the way here. Could you go back and check for me? It's about 100 or 200 yuan. Upon hearing my words, Charles's mother hurriedly left, listening to the sound of the elderly woman's footsteps fading away. I sat up and tore off the cotton that was bound to my stomach. The show is about to begin now. Luna truly had a difficult labor. She was sent to the delivery room and struggled for several hours before finally giving birth to the child. As soon as he saw the child, Charles quickly wrapped the baby up and hurriedly carried him outside. Out in the hallway, he ran into his mother, who looked disheveled and anxious. Seeing Charles's mother, Charles frowned. Mom, didn't I tell you to stay by Linda's side at all times? How could you leave without permission and end up in this state? Charles's mother stammered. I just fell in the bathroom. How could you be so careless? Has the baby been born? Was it born? I saw a swaddling cloth beside her and rushed over to find you right away. Charles's mother actually wasn't sure whether Linda had given birth or not. Upon hearing Linda say she had lost several hundred yuan, she immediately rushed back in a panic to search for it. On her way to look for the money, Charles's mother thought to herself that even if she found it, she would tell Linda she hadn't seen it. After all, by tomorrow, Linda would become a target of public scorn, and she was determined to keep the money for herself. What Charles's mother didn't expect was that she searched all the way home but still couldn't find Linda's lost money. Disappointed, Charles's mother cursed and grumbled as she turned back, only to be knocked over by someone and fall into a roadside ditch. By the time she struggled to get up, the person who had knocked her over had already disappeared without a trace. Furious, Charles's mother cursed with harsh words all the way back to the hospital. Pushing open the door of the ward, I saw Linda lying on the bed with a tightly wrapped swaddling cloth placed beside her. Linda had safely given birth to the child, which relieved Charles's mother. She immediately rushed to find her son, thinking that if they were to swap the child, it had to be now. Once day broke and more people were around, it would be harder to discuss. After the mother and son ran into each other, they hurriedly made their way to the ward. Pushing open the door of the room I was in, Charles also caught sight of the swaddling cloth lying next to me at a glance. Charles carefully carried the child in his arms and approached me, swiftly swapping it with the swaddling cloth placed beside me. After he successfully swapped, I opened my eyes. Charles, what are you doing? Charles was startled by my sudden words. He forced a smile while holding the child and said, Luna just gave birth to a boy. I brought the baby over to see you. Really? I sat up, my gaze fixed intently on the swaddled baby in Charles's arms, and emphasized, "But the child you're holding is clearly the one I just gave birth to." Charles was caught off guard by my question, his eyes flickered, and he knew he couldn't deny it now. After all, he had only intended to secretly swap the child, never expecting that I would suddenly wake up. Since I was already awake, he decided to go all the way. Charles abruptly uncovered the swaddling clothes lying beside me and let out a sharp cry. "Linda, what is this? How could you give birth to such a child?" With Charles's stern shout, Charles's mother rushed over in a few quick steps and tore open the swaddling cloth beside me, revealing the dark-skinned child inside. "Oh my God, how is the child black? This can't possibly be Charles's child. Linda, you've been cheating on our Charles behind our backs. You're shameless, you're despicable." While screaming, Charles's mother pinched the black child's arm hard. The dark-skinned baby, hurt by her pinch, let out a loud, painful cry. Hearing the baby's cries, Mother Charles immediately raised her voice and began shouting frantically, "Linda, how dare you cheat on Charles behind our backs, you shameless thing. What has my son ever done to you that you would betray him like this? If you're going to cheat, at least cheat with a Chinese man. Why on earth would you go for a black man, you insane creature? You've completely shamed our Charles family." Charles's mother was screaming and rolling on the ground in a tantrum, her voice loud and powerful, carrying far into the night. Her shouting quickly drew a crowd of onlookers. The room was packed to the brim, and everyone stared in amazement at the child lying beside me, who was crying loudly out of fear. They watched and whispered in astonishment, How did she give birth to a black baby? Yes, how could it be a black child? Was it from having an affair with a black person? Of course. She must have cheated on her husband and gotten pregnant by a foreigner. Disgraceful. How could there be such a shameless woman? The onlookers who rushed to the scene upon hearing the news saw the black child beside me and, filled with righteous indignation, joined Charles's mother in accusing me. Amid the chaos, Luna also appeared, seeing the people in the ward siding with Charles's mother and son to accuse me. A triumphant smile flickered across Luna's face. She swayed with every step as she went to help the hysterically crying Charles's mother on the ground, saying, "Auntie, calm down, don't let anger harm your health." While helping Mrs. Charles up, she said to me in a sarcastic tone, "Sister-in-law, I don't mean to criticize you, but how could you be so careless? Charles has been so good to you, yet you've been sneaking around with a black man behind his back. How can you face him?" Charles, holding the child in one arm, pointed at me with the other and continued, "Haven't I treated you well, Linda? How could you be so shameless? That's right. Everyone has seen how well Charles treats you. You were too lazy to work, so he let you quit your job and stay home to rest during your pregnancy. He gave you all his salary to spend as you pleased. You could have anything you wanted while you were pregnant, yet you did something so disgraceful. You've let everyone down." Watching Luna twist the truth and slander me, I couldn't help but laugh. Does Charles really treat me that well? As far as I know, he spends 29 out of 30 days a month at your house, doesn't he? I raised my voice. "The house you live in was found by Charles. He accompanied you for your prenatal checkups, he bought all your daily necessities, and he was even by your side when you gave birth. So, are you sure the Charles you're talking about has ever treated me better?" Hearing me publicly expose Charles and her scandal, the onlookers' gazes toward Luna and Charles shifted. Everyone turned their eyes to Charles and Luna, and soon they recognized them. After all, Charles had never tried to hide his support for Luna, so much so that most people thought they were a couple, and someone immediately raised a question, "What's going on? The wife is pregnant, and the husband never cares or asks about her, always helping another woman. How does that make any sense?" Exactly. I saw this man accompanying this woman to give birth here yesterday. He was carefully helping her up and down the stairs for a walk, and I thought she was his wife at the time. That's right. I also saw them coming together frequently for prenatal checkups before. I always thought they were a couple, but I never expected they weren't, so this husband was involved with another woman while his wife was pregnant. What kind of thing is this, with such an unscrupulous husband? It's no wonder the wife couldn't bear it anymore. Hearing the shift in the wind, Luna was furious and defended herself in a shrill voice. "She's twisting black and white and talking nonsense. Brother Charles only helped me because he saw I had no husband. The relationship between him and me is completely innocent. something a shameless woman like you could never understand. Instead of wasting your time slandering me and brother Charles, you should think more about how to explain this dark-skinned child. She pointed at the black child lying beside me. You've been making a fuss with Charles because he kindly helped me, and neither Charles nor I could figure out why you were so upset. Now I understand. It's because you have a guilty conscience, isn't it? You're that kind of person yourself. You've been having an affair with a foreigner and messing around. So you project your own dirty thoughts onto Charles and me. Luna cleverly redirected everyone's attention to the black child. Everyone had initially felt some sympathy for me, but seeing the black child lying next to me, they quickly changed their stance. No matter what, you shouldn't mess around with a black person and have a child, right? Luna immediately chimed in. Yes, Linda is a classic case of a thief crying, "Stop thief." She has a guilty conscience. So she sees everything through a dirty lens. Seeing Luna's triumphant and confident expression, I raised my voice. This dark-skinned child is not mine. He has nothing to do with me. She's lying. The child is definitely hers. I saw it as soon as I came in. It gave my mother and me quite a shock. Seeing me defend myself, Charles immediately added fuel to the fire. Linda, I never knew you could be so despicable and shameless. You took advantage of your pregnancy to bully my mother. Refused to go to work, and wouldn't even allow me to help the family of a comrade in need. I've been tolerating you all this time for the sake of the child, but I never expected you to do something so improper behind my back. Let me tell you, this matter isn't over. I'm going to report this to the organization and let them decide what's right. As Charles and Luna accused me one after another, the looks of disgust from everyone grew more intense. I no longer had the heart to argue, and instead gave a meaningful smile to Charles and Luna, who were spitting with rage. Charles, Luna, I hope you'll still be able to laugh later, and laugh just as heartily. Seeing the sarcastic smile on my face, Luna's heart sank. Shouldn't I be making this expression? Shouldn't I, now being condemned by everyone, be panicking, terrified to the extreme, trying to find a way to beg for mercy and defend myself? Why am I not defending myself or begging for mercy, and even smiling instead? And the two children in the room, the dark-skinned one beside me was crying loudly, while the one Charles was holding made no sound at all. Various signs made Luna's heart sink, and she urgently wanted to know the situation of the child Charles was holding. Luna immediately walked over to Charles's side and prepared to reach out to lift the swaddling clothes he was holding. At that moment, a stern voice came from outside. We are from the Military Commission for Discipline Inspection. Please make way. The onlookers immediately cleared a path upon hearing the voice. Several uniformed individuals entered the ward with stern expressions. They glanced at me lying on the bed, then at Charles, who was holding the child, and asked in a serious tone, "Who made the anonymous report just now?" I was about to speak, but Charles cut in first. "It was me. I reported my wife, Linda, for improper conduct, knowingly breaking the law by undermining a military marriage, and having an inappropriate relationship with a foreigner, which resulted in this child. Where's the proof? The evidence is this child," Charles declared confidently, pointing to the dark-skinned child beside me. "She just gave birth to this child, and the child's skin tone speaks for itself." The leader of the supervisory committee looked at the child beside me, then at Charles and Luna, who was standing close to him, before finally asking me, "Do you have anything to say, leader?" "This child is not mine. He was just brought in by Charles to frame me. If I'm not mistaken, the child's mother is this woman named Luna next to Charles." "It's not me. You're slandering me. This child is clearly yours," Luna retorted sharply. After listening to the statements from all parties, the leader frowned and spoke sternly. "Disgraceful, utterly disgraceful. Take them away immediately." As soon as the leader spoke, the people he brought immediately stepped forward to restrain Charles and Luna. Both Luna and Charles were dumbfounded. "Wrong, you've got the wrong people. It was Linda who stole someone and violated discipline, not us." Luna also cried out loudly, "Leaders, you've made a mistake. All of this is her fault. It was Linda who was shameless. She was the one who had an affair with a black man and gave birth to a black child. This child is Linda's. I am the victim. Yes, I testify. This black child was born by Linda. She is the shameless one. It has nothing to do with my son. You must not arrest the wrong person. My son is the most promising cadre. He is about to be promoted." The terrified mother Charles, standing nearby, also snapped back to reality and began shouting and wailing in protest. Watching this scene, I threw off the covers and got out of bed. I said, word by word, leader, the person who just made the tip-off call was me. I report Charles for abusing his power and being unworthy of being a soldier. I report Luna and Charles for improper conduct and engaging in illicit affairs. I also report Luna for getting pregnant out of wedlock with a foreigner and then attempting to swap my child to scheme against me. Hearing me articulate clearly the things they did behind my back, Charles and Luna's faces turned pale. How did you know? No, this is slander. You're talking nonsense, boss. Don't believe Linda. You can't trust her. Charles and Luna never dreamed that I would know their plans so clearly. They tried to defend themselves, attempting to convince the boss that they were innocent. I looked coldly at these two scumbags before me and delivered the final blow. Charles, did you really think I knew nothing about your plan with Luna? Let me tell you, I've long been aware of your despicable scheme. I knew you intended to swap my child. And I knew you were viciously plotting to make my life a living hell. I'm not afraid to tell you, I've been waiting for this day for over 6 months. Seeing me speak like this, sweat began to form on Charles's forehead. He still clung to a last shred of hope. You're talking nonsense. The one who started all this was you. I have witnesses. I have a doctor who can testify for me. It was clearly Linda who gave birth to a black child. Charles was unwilling to give up and even attempted to have the doctor he bribed testify for him. He clamored about bringing the doctor as a witness, but I had no patience to continue arguing with him. Charles, there's no need to trouble yourself to find the doctor. I'll ask you one question right now. You keep saying I gave birth to a child of unknown origin, and you keep insisting that you and Luna are innocent. I want to ask you, where is the child Luna gave birth to now? In my custody, Charles replied confidently. Is that so? Then could you show everyone the true face of the child in your custody? Charles saw me staring at him so confidently, and his worry began to grow. Why hasn't the child he's holding made a sound until now? Could there be something wrong with the child? He thought to himself, suddenly realizing that the child he was holding seemed a bit different. Shouldn't a child be soft? The black child he was just holding, born to Luna, was clearly soft. Why is the child he's holding now so hard, like a brick? This thought made Charles's heart sink. Before he could react, I stepped forward and tore off the swaddling clothes of the child he was holding. I casually threw the child from Charles's hands onto the ground. With a loud bang, everyone looked toward the ground. Seeing the child lying on the ground, everyone gasped in shock. It turned out that what lay on the ground was not a child at all, but a brick wrapped in cloth, with a few words written on it. Charles and Luna, you two beasts deserve a miserable death. See the words on the brick clearly, and both Charles and Luna were dumbfounded. How could it be a brick? Where is the child? Where did the child go? I looked at Charles and replied lightly, the child has been gone for a long time. It's been gone for 6 months. What? How is that possible? Haven't you been pregnant all along? The child couldn't possibly be gone. How is it impossible? I sneered. Stepping closer to Charles, did you not feel even a trace of guilt when you hit me, your pregnant wife? For Luna, Charles, you were so sure I would give birth to your child without complaint, so sure I would endure humiliation for you. You and Luna plotted against me with such viciousness and shamelessness. Is there any law that says I must follow your malicious plan and give birth to this child? Charles stumbled backward a few steps under my pressure. I sneered. I had the pregnancy terminated at the hospital the day you slapped me. I have the medical records, and the doctor will testify for me. So, you and Luna's attempt to frame and slander me with this black child is completely baseless. Learning that the child in my womb had vanished 6 months ago, Charles turned deathly pale. Luna, hiding behind him, looked at me with eyes full of hatred. I could understand how she felt at that moment. After all, a plan that was almost certain to succeed had now fallen apart. Who wouldn't be filled with resentment? I stepped closer to Luna and asked her, word by word, aren't you a martyr's family member? Didn't your husband sacrifice his life for the country? I'd really like to know his name, what he did, and when he gave his life for the nation. Can you explain all of this clearly in front of the leaders? Luna immediately hung her head upon hearing my words, falling silent like a defeated rooster. Over the past few months, I haven't been idle at all, investigating Luna's affairs by seeking out people from all around. Heaven rewards the diligent, and I finally uncovered Luna's secret. She was never a martyr's family member, she was Charles's white moonlight. Growing up with Charles, the two shared a deep bond. Unfortunately, Charles's family was too poor to afford a betrothal gift for Luna's family. In the end, Luna was forced by her parents to marry a carpenter. After Luna got married, Charles also joined the military, rising from a low-ranking soldier to an officer step by step. Then we met through an organization, and we got married. Not long after I married Charles, something happened on Luna's side. Her husband passed away in an accident, and Luna lost her support. She planned to return to her parents' home, but her parents were too cruel. They didn't want to take Luna in. Instead, they planned to sell her to a black man to be his wife. Luna resisted, but in the end, she was violated by the black man. Luna couldn't bear living with the black person, so she ran away and encountered Charles on a mission along the way, reuniting after years apart. The two were overjoyed and had endless things to say to each other. Charles still had feelings for Luna and granted her every request. Upon learning that Charles had become an officer, Luna was filled with regret. She wanted to hold on to Charles, someone she could rely on. So Luna took the initiative to find a way to be with him. Such things become easier with practice, and later, Luna told Charles that she was pregnant. Charles had feelings for Luna and couldn't bear to let her go, so he fabricated a lie to bring her back and take care of her. Luna was originally a victim, but because of her impure intentions, she ended up becoming the perpetrator. She and Charles began plotting how to get rid of me. Luna was unsure if the child in her belly was Charles's. She confessed to Charles about her affair with the black man. Charles truly loved Luna. He promised to cover for Luna, and then they came up with the vicious plan of swapping the child. In their previous life, their scheme succeeded in ruining my reputation and leading to my miserable death. In this life, I went to see Luna's prenatal doctor in advance. The doctor didn't know that I had fallen out with Luna and Charles, and thinking I was concerned about Luna, told me all about her condition. It turned out that Luna had a problem with her uterus and couldn't terminate the pregnancy. Finally, I understood why Luna insisted on keeping the child even though she knew there was something wrong with the baby in her womb. She didn't dare to go against her own body, and she couldn't be sure that the child she was carrying was definitely the black guy's, so I took a chance. After all, Charles, who loved her, was willing to go to great lengths for her and scheme to cover for her. So Luna had plenty of confidence. The exposure of the matter was so thorough that both Charles and Luna lost the ability to defend themselves. The leaders of the Discipline Inspection Commission took Charles and Luna away. The matter has come to a temporary end. The crowd dispersed, and Charles's mother sat alone on the ground, weeping sorrowfully. This vicious and shameless old woman, who was so arrogant toward me before, now knows fear after the truth has been revealed. People are selfish. Earlier, she conspired with Charles and Luna to harm me, and now she actually tries to ask me to help her. Winter Orchid, this whole matter is all that little wretch Luna's fault. She's the one stirring up trouble. You absolutely must not blame Charles because of her. Charles is your husband, and as a married couple, you are one. You need to find a way to get Charles out. Mother Charles thinks I'm a fool. She believes my heart is full of Charles, and that I'm the same idiot who slaved away for their Charles family in my past life. She miscalculated. I won't lift a finger to help her. Not only will I not help her, but I will also stand by and watch her family suffer. After all, in my previous life, after being framed by Charles and Luna, I had nowhere to go and was forced to serve Charles's paralyzed mother like a beast of burden for the rest of my life. This very old woman, who pretends to be pitiful, is actually vicious at heart. I was forced to serve her, tending to her every need as if I were a beast of burden, yet she showed not a shred of gratitude. She constantly belittled me and would often beat and scold me. In my past life, I was tormented by this wretched old woman for a lifetime. Thinking that this old bastard might have an accident and be paralyzed for life, unable to stand up again, I was overjoyed. Let their family enjoy their complete and utter happiness for the rest of their lives. The investigation into Charles's case progressed very quickly. Due to his misconduct and the conclusive evidence of his falsifications, he was discharged from the military and sent home. After being detained for several months, Luna was also released and followed Charles back home. The two were finally able to come together happily and joyfully because of love. The only difference from their previous life was that, in that life, One was a young and promising officer with no blemishes on his record, the other had not given birth to a child of mixed race and was seen as pure and upright in the eyes of the world. In this life, the two of them were like rats and flies in the gutter, despised wherever they went. The two no longer had the affection from their past life and argued frequently, every couple of days. Charles was unwilling to raise a child that wasn't his, but he could no longer have children of his own. He had suffered an injury during a mission that damaged his body, and not being able to have his own child made Charles irritable. He couldn't even show a hint of kindness to Luna, who endured the mistreatment in silence. But her silence did nothing to help the situation. In the 3rd month after the two got married, Charles's mother had an accident. She fell while gathering firewood in the mountains and became paralyzed, unable to stand for the rest of her life. Mother Charles has become disabled and needs someone to take care of her, as she is paralyzed from the waist down. In the past, Charles couldn't bear to let Luna do even the slightest bit of heavy or tiring work, so he left all the tasks to me, the old servant, in the previous life. The first thing Charles thought of after his mother became paralyzed was to take advantage of me. No one can help him in this lifetime, and in this situation, he can't find anyone to take advantage of. Charles himself is unwilling to face his mother, who is unable to take care of herself and reeks of filth. Thus, the responsibility of caring for Charles's mother inevitably fell upon Luna. A long illness tests the loyalty of a child. And Luna is not someone who is willing to endure hardship or show filial piety. After only briefly taking care of Charles's mother for a few days, she threw in the towel and didn't want to do it anymore. How could Charles let her leave so easily? At this point, Charles no longer had any tenderness or affection for Luna, frequently resorting to physical violence. Luna was both angry and resentful. She didn't dare to do anything to Charles, so she turned her focus to the paralyzed Charles' mother. Luna felt that all her hardship and exhaustion were because of the paralyzed Charles' mother. Only if Charles' mother died could she be free. The idea lingered in Luna's mind. As soon as it emerged, she began to take action, but Luna dared not make it too obvious or deliberate. She persistently started putting rat poison into Charles's mother's meals, and after half a month of ingesting small doses, Charles's mother finally passed away. Charles's mother did not look well when she died. One of the most noticeable after-effects of poisoning is bleeding from all 7 orifices. This is not the way a normal person dies. After seeing Charles's mother bleeding from all 7 orifices, Charles called for an autopsy. Luna was arrested again, this time for the crime of intentional homicide. What awaits her is the death penalty. Luna is in prison awaiting execution, but Charles is not at ease, because he married Luna and must raise her and her black son. What is all this nonsense? Charles was unwilling, but couldn't shake it off. He wanted to kill the little black devil, but so many eyes were watching him. Charles didn't want to die, nor did he want to go to prison, so he had no choice but to wait day after day, year after year. I saw Charles again 20 years later, by which time I had become a renowned senior engineer. Charles, on the other hand, was a security guard at one of the factories under my supervision. While on duty at the gate, he saw me sitting in a black car, watching as I was respectfully escorted out of the vehicle and surrounded by people as I entered the company building. Charles's mouth was wide open, completely agape. On the day I left the factory, Charles desperately blocked the car, determined to speak with me. I got out of the car holding my subordinate, looking at Charles, who appeared like an old man. He was actually only in his 40s, yet his hair was completely white, and his back was hunched. Such a Charles reminded me of myself in my past life. Back then, I too had lost my vibrancy because of his schemes, and I resembled an elderly woman. How times have changed. I looked at Charles and laughed out loud. Charles rubbed his hands together. I'm sorry, Linda, I've wronged you. He knelt down with a thud in front of me. Linda, I was wrong. I was terribly wrong. All these years, I've been having a dream, dreaming about things I've never experienced. I interrupted Charles. Oh, really? Did you dream about becoming a high-ranking official, marrying Luna, and enjoying a life of success and prosperity, while I, deceived by your shameless schemes, toiled away in the countryside taking care of your paralyzed mother until her death? Charles was stunned. How did you know? Because I've lived that kind of life for a lifetime. I've already been shamelessly manipulated by you for an entire life. If I were to start over, How could I possibly give birth to your child and serve you like a beast of burden for another lifetime? There's no such logic in this world, is there? Charles trembled his lips. He wanted to say something, but nothing came out. He had originally intended to beg Linda for help. Charles knew that Linda had always been kind-hearted, both in his dreams and before their relationship soured. She had been gentle and compassionate. Charles was convinced that if he knelt and apologized, Linda would forgive him. Observing her demeanor, he guessed that she was no longer an ordinary person. Charles had thought that if Linda was willing to help, perhaps his life would improve. For instance, he might no longer be stuck working as a security guard. For example, his salary and benefits might also see some improvement. He was thinking too much and too wishfully. I got back into the car and left. As the car sped away, I coldly told the accompanying factory manager that security guard is someone I used to know. His character is utterly despicable and low. How can you trust someone like that to be a security guard? Aren't you afraid something might happen? The leader agreed with my words. I also think he doesn't seem like a good person. To prevent any negative publicity for our factory, I'll have him dismissed right away. Needless to say, Charles lost his job. He'd better pray he never runs into me again. I'm someone who holds a grudge and pays back every slight. I won't go easy on those who've hurt me, but I won't kill Charles. After all, that would make me legally responsible. Still, I'll do everything in my power to make his life miserable. Charles had better stay far away and avoid me at all costs, or I'll never let him off the hook. In this life, Charles will live like a rat in the gutter. And he must relive everything I experienced in my previous life. Only in this way can my rebirth be justified, and only then will it be a fitting punishment for such a despicable and shameless creature. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.